to mention you about one record. So this is a very important record because Jaipur earlier it was the desert, and when you are planning for any kind of town you want to establish, so first need is the water. So they constructed one canal and dam. They brought water from Jhotwada river. So right hand side you can see the complete record. This is from 1728 record. So there is a Jagjeevan Ram, sorry, Anand Ram. So this is showing about they have dug a canal which brought water to Jaipur city. So if you have visited the Jaipur city, today there is a metro stations. It is called Choti Chopat, Badi Chopat, Ramganj Chopat. So earlier they were the water reservoirs. तो उसमें क्या होता था, झोटवाड़ा रिवर से पानी आके पूरा स्टोर होता था छोटी चौपड़ में. सर्टेन लेवल तक पानी जब आ जाता था तो उसके बाद वो पानी निकल के आगे जाता था बड़ी चौपड़ में. देन सर्टेन लेवल तक पानी जब बड़ी चौपड़ में आ जाता था, देन इट like flow ahead to the Ramganj Chopad. So when they were constructing this metro stations, तो मैंने काफी हल्ला मचाया, काफी आर्टिकल मैंने न्यूज़पेपर में दिए. इवन चीफ इंजीनियर्स को मैंने बोला कि दिस इज नॉट गुड फॉर जयपुर, बट किसी ने बात नहीं सुनी. दे like converted entire water reservoirs into the metro stations. So nowadays what is happening, like थोड़ा सा भी रेन जयपुर में होता है, the entire Jaipur city is in flood. वॉल सिटी के अंदर पानी भर जाता है क्योंकि ड्रेनेज सिस्टम जो पुराना ड्रेनेज सिस्टम था, वी हैव ब्लॉक द एंटायर ड्रेनेज सिस्टम. सो दिस इज द रिपोर्ट. इट इज स्टिल प्रिजर्व्ड इन ओरिएंटल रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट इन जोधपुर. दिस वाज लाइक रिटन बाय आनंद राम इन 16 July 1726, and it is mentioning like how they can brought the water from Jhotwada river to Jaipur city. And in the same report you will also find they also mentioned like how we can recharge the well which were created in mohallas. Because Jaipur में जैसे main street है which is connecting from Chandpur to Ramganj Chopad, तो मेन स्ट्रीट जो है और मेन स्ट्रीट के दोनों साइड अलग अलग रास्ताज हैं. रास्ते के अंदर हम लोग जाते हैं तो एवरी स्ट्रीट में हम लोग के स्मॉल स्मॉल मोहल्लाज है. लाइक मोहल्लाज में भी पर्टिकुलर कास्ट, पर्टिकुलर जो भी कम्युनिटी है, उनके काम के हिसाब से these मोहल्लाज were divided and they have given to space. Like नीलगरों का मोहल्ला, that means all the dyers they are in one मोहल्ला, they are living over there, they are doing their work. Then अपने चूड़ी बनाने वाले जो होते हैं उनका एक अलग मोहल्ला है, तो ब्लॉक मेकर्स का एक अलग मोहल्ला है. तो इसी तरह से there are different मोहल्लाज and each मोहल्ला we have 2 to 3 wells which were fulfilling their water requirement. So in this report, you will also find they have mentioned how we can recharge those well also with the water. So this is the record. So it is clearly mentioning like Nahar wa Bandho Jhotwada. Like Jhotwada is river से किस तरह से बंद और नहर का पूरा construction किया है. So one side you will see it is mentioned in Devanagari and Dundhadi language Masalo, and other side it is mentioned Ajuro. So Masalo means the material, Ajuro means the labor cost, and other details are also mentioned in the record. Then when we are talking about the building planning and design of the building, so we are finding the term Usta. So Usta, they are the architect who are making the plans, elevation plan, and all the details, they were detailed drawings they were preparing. So we have also find so many detailed drawings and plans. We can say about the Hawa Mahal also, detailed drawing of Jantar Mandir is also there. So the term Usta was used for architect in the document. The architects means Ustagars were prepared the plans of Jaipur buildings, and whenever you are finding the plans, so they are mentioning it Tarah hai. So at the back of the map also you will find Tarah Nahargarh ki, Tarah Jain Niwas ki, Tarah Hawa Mahal ki. So that means this is the map. Then Kapadwara reveals that selection of the site was main concern of Jaipur ruler before actual construction of Jaipur city. Then there was again one department which was very important. So Kapadwara is a section. So Kapadwara, it also have so many important records, maps and plans. So this Kapadwara is still in the city palace, but few part of the Kapadwara is like sealed by the Supreme Court due to the some family problem. So this is like still sealed, but there is a catalog which is named as the Kapadwara Maps and Documents. It is in 2 volumes. It is written by Dr. Chandmani Singh. So in Kapadwara documents, we are finding the Ayodhya map also I have seen over there. And I have like translated the entire this Ayodhya map when this Ram Mandir issue was going on. So you will find all the details of Ayodhya map in that where is the Ram Mandir was there, when is the Janki Rasoi, where is Bharat Kund. So each and every space they have clearly mentioned in this Ayodhya map. So the actual construction records and so many maps are preserved in Kapadwara. Plans, there were a number of architects whose names mentioned in document like Dayaram, Khushpal Kumar, Udayaram, Sumram, Sitaram Kumar. They were the architects in different time periods. From Savai Jai Singh Ji to the, we can say, up to the Savai Ram Singh Ji's record we are finding. Then this is a bundle of 68, like Bahi ka bundle mein se this is one of the page. This is bundle number 8, and like in the archives it is preserved in bundle number, and page 24, 25 shows the name of the Uzdagar architects and their wages. So this is the, like in right hand side it is written Ustagar, and just below the Ustagar it is written 335. So means 335 rupees and 8 Athana was paid to Dayaram. So name of the Dayaram is also mentioned. Rekho Khati Naam is also mentioned. Just below that, Kushyal Kumar and Sitaram name is also mentioned. So this is like they were involved to plan the 7-storied building of Savai Jai, जो Savai Jai Singh जी ने Savai Jai Singh जी ने वहां पे चंद्र महल जो बनाया, which is called the 7-storied building. तो उसका जो प्लान तैयार किया, like map and plan they have prepared. So they were the architect, and on the left hand side you will see on the top it is written Rosimdar. Rosimdar matlab daily wagers. So it is clearly mentioned like these architects were the daily wagers and they have paid to do certain work on the daily wages. So daily wages amount is mentioned over there. Then this is a plan of Jaipur. This is from Amer to Sanganer. So Sanganer side at the moment airport is there, and on the left hand side this is the entire Jaipur city is there. So this plan was prepared in 1725 before the construction of Jaipur city. So you can see the Amer Ghatis are also there, and just behind the Amer Ghati this is the entire Jaipur city is there, and then right hand side this Sanganer is there. So this is the progressive map of Jaipur. So construction of Jaipur was started from the northeast side. So you can see they have started like जो hill वाला part top पे दिख रहा है, वहां से they have started construction of the fort wall, and construction जब ये map prepare किया गया in 1728, तो फोर्ट वॉल का कंस्ट्रक्शन कहां तक कंप्लीट हुआ था, देन उसके बाद में उन्होंने सिर्फ एक सिंपल सा एक सर्पेंटाइन शेप में लाइन ड्रॉ कर दिया है. दैट मींस वर्क इज इन प्रोग्रेस ऑन दैट साइड. बाकी जहां तक फोर्ट वॉल कंप्लीट हो चुका है उन्होंने पूरा ये प्रोग्रेसिव मैप में दे हैव शोन द कंप्लीटेड वर्क. In between also, like in the center, there is a green patches, small patches, square, and just at the back side of the green patch, there is a square shape in white. So that is the plan of the Chandra Mahal with like city palace, and just behind the city palace there is a Jainivas garden. So they are showing the progress and planning. So complete, we can say how much progress they have made in 1726 and how they were going ahead. So like monthly they used to prepare this progressive map and they will have to submit. Then this is the plan of Jantar Mantar, which was also created in 1728. So which instrument should be placed where? So the details is there, and other records are also there we are finding, which mention about the material cost of each and every instrument, who are the Kargigar, who does what work. So all the details we are finding in the record. So this is the like Samrat Yant also we can see, Ramvala Yant is also there. Like so many instrument we can see, and we can see their placement also. If you will keep this map in your hand and if you will put it in the Jantar Mantar Jaipur, you will find like position of each and every instrument is there. Then this is the plan of the Satkhanda plan. We are calling it Satkhanda plan as it is mentioned in records also. Satkhanda plan. Satkhanda plan in the 7-storied building. So in the City Palace Jaipur, there is a 7-storied building which is called the Chandra Mahal. So this is the Satkhanda plan. The entire plan is prepared by Usta architect. What Chhajju Usta, and under the this main architect there was some जो सीखने वाले जो थे untrained like architect or practicing architect, they also worked under the Chhajju Ram. So you can find the measurement of each and every room. So this is not the complete 7-story plan. मैंने कैमरे में सिर्फ 3 या 4 फ्लोर का ही मैं कवर कर पाया था, because this is a very long map, very long plan. But एक एक रूम के dimensions you can find. तो आज हम लोग जो एलिवेशन की और जो डिटेल ड्राइंग की बात करते हैं, if you will keep this map over there, so each and every room they have constructed over there. In the center, like large hall is there. Then on the both side there is a like different size rooms are there. So detail are there. If you got some like if you are getting the chance to visit the 7-story this building, जब आप देखेंगे, you just keep this map in mind, so everything will be clear to you. This is the original plan of Hawa Mahal when Hawa Mahal was constructed. So before construction of the Hawa Mahal, this plan was prepared, and the Hawa Mahal building was completed in 1784. And when this building of Hawa Mahal was completed, we are also finding like from where they brought the stone slab, and not only the stone slab. Once the work of the Hawa Mahal was completed, each and every person which was involved in the construction work, they have given the Siropava. So different kind of pagdis they have given. Maybe the main architect, he has awarded by silk pagdi, where all the other masons they have awarded by the cotton pagdis. So detail also we are getting in the record, like what kind of reward they have given when this Hawa Mahal building was completed. So this is the complete plan of Hawa Mahal. This is again very important plan, and this is related to the conservation work, because the Nahargarh, the building of Nahargarh was completed during the time of Savai Jai Singh Ji and Savai Madhu Singh Ji first, during the 18th century. Actually, this Nahargarh was constructed for the protection of the city. If you have visited the Amer Palace, so Amer was the original town of the Jaipur ruler. So to protect the Amer town and Amer Palace, they have constructed the Jaigarh Fort. And when they have planned for Jaipur city, for the security of Jaipur city, they have constructed this Nahargarh Fort. Okay, so that is why in Jaipur we have 2 forts. One is the Jaigarh Fort and second is the Nahargarh Fort. So Amer Fort हम लोग काफी बार सुनते हैं, इवन जब यूनेस्को की वर्ल्ड मॉन्यूमेंट ये साइट में भी आमेर को डिक्लेयर किया जा रहा था, सो ऑल द कमिटी मेंबर दे वर कॉलिंग इट अम्बेर फोर्ट, अम्बेर फोर्ट. तो आई सेड लाइक अम्बेर, जयगढ़ इज द अम्बेर फोर्ट, एंड जिसको हम अम्बेर फोर्ट बोल रहे हैं, दैट इज नॉट द अम्बेर फोर्ट, दैट इज द अम्बेर पैलेस, because purpose of the palace and fort is completely different. Fort was always used for the defense purposes, but जिसको आज की तारीख में हम लोग अम्बेर फोर्ट बोल रहे हैं, that is the palace, that was the residence of the Jaipur rulers, and fort was the Jaigarh. So originally Jaigarh is the Amer Fort. Later on, name of the Jaigarh Fort, this Amer Fort was changed by Savai Jai Singh Ji, and name is given as the Jaigarh. But Jaigarh is the originally Amer Fort, and Amer Fort जो हम कह रहे हैं, that is the Amer Palace. ठीक है? So I think you are the student who can further you can convince to public like what is the difference between fort and palace. तो अभी तक ये मिसकॉन्सेप्शन है ना सोसाइटी में काफी चल रहा है। कोई भी जयपुर जाके आता है, बोलते कहाँ घूम के आया, बोले आम्बेर फोर्ट घूम के आया। बोले आप लोग अम्बेर पैलेस घूम के आएंगे, फोर्ट तो जयगढ़ जो है दैट इज द फोर्ट। तो यहाँ जो मैं मैप आपको दिखा रहा हूं, इसमें क्लियरली इट इज रिटन लाइक किले सुदर्शनगढ़ में, नीचे लिखा हुआ है किले सुदर्शनगढ़ में नया सिरासू, नए सिरे से मतलब रेस्टोरेशन और रिनोवेशन, दोबारा से उसको किया गया नया सिरासू जनाना बड़ो रावड़ो, मतलब अर्लियर वहां पे छोटा जनाना ड्योढ़ी हुआ करता था, तो वहां पे एक बड़ा जनानी ड्योढ़ी बनाई गई है। तो जनानो बड़ो रावड़ो बनायो वेणु की तरफ, तो उसमें जो बनाया उसकी तरह बनवाई, उसकी जो प्लान पूरा तैयार किया कि नया बड़ा रावला वहां पे बनाना है, उसका पूरा प्लान तैयार किया गया। कब बनाया गया? संवत 1857, 1857 संवत में, दैट मीन्स यू विल हैव टू माइनस 57 ईयर्स। अगर संवत में जहां भी मेंशन किया गया है, तो जब 1857 में से यू विल माइनस द 57, सो ईयर विल बी ऑलमोस्ट 1800। तो 1800 में ये पूरा नया रावड़ा बनाया गया था। सो डिटेल इज ऑल्सो मेंशन, प्लान इज ऑल्सो देयर। इसमें काफी मैप्स में यू विल सी व्हाइट लाइनिंग। सो ये करेक्शंस किए गए थे कि मेजरमेंट में कहीं पे कुछ इश्यूज आ रहे हैं, लाइन में कहीं गलत लाइन हो गई है, तो व्हाइट लाइन से एक तरह से उसको इरेज करके करेक्शंस पूरा किया गया है। तो काफी मैप्स में यू विल फाइंड सच काइंड ऑफ लाइक करेक्शंस। Then method and material. So list of materials used in different kind of works and techniques are mentioned in records such as 68 इमारती एंड स्याही इमारती। स्याही इमारती जो है वो कंप्लीटली राजा के ऑर्डर से जो काम किया जा रहा था, जैसे वर्बल ऑर्डर में कि नहीं आज आपको ये काम करना है, तो वो जितने भी रिकॉर्ड्स हैं या पैलेस के अंदर कंस्ट्रक्शन होने के बाद जो काम किए गए, वो रिकॉर्ड सारे आपको स्याही इमारती में मिलेंगे। So these are the such kind of records where they have mentioned about the material also. So इसमें like जगाल, हिंगलू, कली, चूनो, तेल, like all the nosadar, rag, raga, suhago. So all these materials and their like cost is also mentioned. So one is the ये actually एक हमाम जो खजाना की का हमाम जो था, वहां की मरम्मत जो कराई, लाइक रेस्टोरेशन जो किया, उस समय व्हाट काइंड ऑफ मटेरियल दे यूज्ड, हाउ मच दे पेड इन लेबर एंड व्हाट वाज द कॉस्ट ऑफ द मटेरियल. सो आई हैव ट्रांसलेटेड दिस इंग्लिश आल्सो, सो आई विल show you the English name like of all these material also. So again this is the like 1783 संवत के हैं, जो जब जय निवास बनाया गया इन पैलेस में, तो उस समय की क्या क्या मटेरियल जो जय निवास में, जो जय महल जो बना, सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ मटेरियल दे हैव यूज्ड, और ये पर्टिकुलरली मंथ का है, उस महीने में लेबर पे इन्होंने कितना खर्चा किया, मटेरियल पे कितना खर्चा किया, सो इट इज मेंशनिंग दैट, एंड उस महीने में टोटल हाउ मच दे हैव लाइक कितना उस समय उन्होंने खर्चा किया इस जय निवास महल में. सो दिस इज द डिटेल. And this is the list of the material, like chuno is the line, kali fine line, ban moonj a kind of grass जो सन जिसको आज हम लोग बोलते हैं, लोहा means iron, तवो means copper, तेल oil, मेथी fenugreek, कागज पेपर्स, गुड जैगरी, कतीरा ये ट्रैगाकैंथ, नील इंडिगो, गोगुली येलो, हिरमिच इंडियन रेड, लाजवरद लेपिस ग्रीन, जगाल टर्कोइज ग्रीन, हिंगलू रेड जो रेड कलर का एक पाउडर जनरली इट इज टेराकोटा रेड जो मार्केट में अवेलेबल होता है, खड़िया दिस इज द वाइट क्ले. So then Adsata Imarati Samvat 1784 mentioned the cost of rupees 36,334 for construction of the palace in Jai Niwas. जो 7 story बिल्डिंग की हम लोग बात करते हैं जय निवास पैलेस की, तो टोटल कॉस्ट इन 1727 में दिस कॉस्ट वाज 36,334 rupees for the construction of the entire 7 story building, and the detail is mentioned in this record. एंड ऑल द डिटेल आर लाइक जो जय निवास में काम हुआ है उसका पूरा डिटेल उन्होंने मेंशन किया है। इवन अगर जय निवास पैलेस आप लोगों ने विजिट किया है कभी, तो पीछे उसमें फाउंटेन्स लगे हुए हैं, तो दो फाउंटेन्स आर वर्किंग ऑन द सेम टेक्निक। जो ताजमहल में हम लोग बोलते हैं कि फर्स्ट में जो प्रेशर होता है तो लास्ट तक फाउंटेन में सेम लेवल तक वाटर जाता है ड्यू टू दिस प्रेशर। सो सेम काइंड ऑफ टेक्निक दे हैव यूज्ड इन जैनिवास गार्डन आल्सो। एंड उसमें जो फाउंटेन्स जो उन्होंने यूज किए हैं, कहाँ से मंगवाया, व्हाट वाज द कॉस्ट ऑफ दैट फाउंटेन, सो ईच एंड एवरीथिंग इज मेंशन। फाउंटेन के दोनों तरफ जो स्टोन स्लैब लिखी हुई है, so detail of stone slab is there like sang kotada. So sang toda hai, sang bhakri hai. So sang bhakri, sang toda means especially there is a like place in Rajasthan that is called is toda. So toda से वो स्टैंड स्लैब पट्टी आई है, उसका कॉस्ट 92 रुपीज था। संग भाखरी मतलब भाखरी से जो स्टोन स्लैब आया उसका प्राइस उस समय 30 रुपीज था। संग सुरख लाइक मार्बल जो आया, मार्बल का कॉस्ट उस समय 3 रुपए था। संग कोटड़ा, कोटड़ा इज अगेन ए प्लेस नियर सवाई माधोपुर, वहां से जो आई उस स्टोन स्लैब का कॉस्टिंग 1 रुपीज था। तो कहां से कौन कौन सी स्टोन स्लैब आई है उसका प्राइस था। राइट हैंड साइड वाला रिकॉर्ड जो है वो पूरा पानी का पुस्तारा जो लिखा हुआ है वो कंप्लीट इट इज मेंशनिंग अबाउट द फाउंटेन्स व्हिच वर इंस्टॉल्ड इन द जैनिवास गार्डन। सो उस समय जो पानी के जो लाइक ब्रास में जो फाउंटेन्स जो बने थे उस समय उनका कॉस्ट जो आया था कंप्लीट कॉस्ट वो 34,899 आया था। ओनली द कॉस्ट ऑफ दिस फाउंटेन्स एंड द एंटायर गार्डन। सो द डिटेल इज मेंशन ओवर देयर। Then in the building department or in the old building, we are also seeing different kind of work, which is known as today araish. So what is this araish work? So during the 18th and 19th century, the technique of araish was in fashion and it was used to most of the walls and on floors of the buildings. The second was the jali. So there were two kind of jalis were there. One is the stone jali and second was the lime jali. So I'll show you some of the example of lime jali also. So stone jali is generally extensively used on the edges of the rooftop. क्योंकि वहां पे क्या है कि आप सॉफ्ट नेचर की कोई जाली यूज नहीं कर सकते रूफटॉप के कॉर्नर पे, तो वहां सब जगह स्टोन जाली यूज की है। बट इंटीरियर में जहां भी उन्होंने पैलेस में वेंटिलेशन के लिए जालीज जो बनी है दे मेड विद द लाइम प्लास्टर्स। एंड थर्ड वाज द खमीरा। खमीरा मींस दी जो paint we are doing or whitewash we are doing, the technique is known as the Khamira lime wash. So in Hawa Mahal earlier there used to be the Khamira wash was there. So एक बार आप खमीरा वाश अगर सही टेक्निक में आप कर देते हैं तो like it will work as a waterproof proofing also for 5 to 10 years. You don't have to think about any other kind of coating if in the right method you are applying the Khamira wash. So this is the araish. So this araish is done on walls, ceiling, and on roof of the palace, temple, havelis, etc., to make the building ornamented. The technique was also applied on stone pillars. Floral pattern and figures in different colors were painted on araish to mark the importance of the building. जितना important building होगा उसमें उतना decoratively araish का काम किया गया होगा, araish से paintings वगैरह किए गए होंगे. This is the photograph of the Mubarak Mahal. If you have visited the city palace, so once you enter in the courtyard, there is a very big building that is called the Mubarak Mahal. So this is the interior part of the Mubarak Mahal. So the material for araish. So lime, nowadays what we are doing, पहले टेक्निक होता था कि लाइम को कितने टाइम तक वाटर में सोक करना है। आजकल टाइम लिमिट इतना कम दिया होता है कि वाटर में जो सोक करने वाला जो टाइम होता है इट इज लाइक सेड मिनिमम 4 to 6 months। जब तक आप उसको सोक नहीं करेंगे तब तक लाइन में जो हीट होती है वो नहीं निकलेगा। और अगर लाइन का हीट आपने नहीं निकाला एंड इफ यू आर यूजिंग फॉर द कंजर्वेशन वर्क इमीडिएटली क्रैक्स वर डेवलप एंड उसका लाइफ इतना ज्यादा नहीं होगा। आज सीमेंट का लाइफ हम देखते हैं तो 50 years जनरली वी आर कंसीडरिंग लाइफ ऑफ सीमेंट। बट लाइन में जितना भी काम हुआ है आज 250 साल पुराने और 300 साल पुराने पैलेसेस इजीली वी कैन सी एंड स्टिल दे आर इन गुड कंडीशंस। सो एक प्रॉपर प्रोसेस करके दे हैव यूज्ड द लाइन। सेकंड इज द झिंकी. झिंकी क्या होता है? बहुत फाइन मार्बल डस्ट होता है, जिसको कई बार मार्बल डस्ट के साथ मिलाकर ये जब अराइज करते हैं, तो पहले क्या होता है, मार्बल डस्ट ऑलमोस्ट 80% होता है, 20% लाइम होता है. सेकंड लेयर में दोनों 50-50% मिक्स होता है. देन फाइन लेयर जो होता है वो पूरा एक लाइम का होता है, पूरा फाइन पेस्ट. क्रीमी लेयर जो होता है वो पूरे ऊपर जो अराइज में किया जाता है, बट एक प्रॉपर प्रोसेस है कि उसको थोड़ा गीला कर करके हम लोग को अप्लाई करना होता है, अदरवाइज उसका लाइफ नहीं हो पाएगा जब तक प्रॉपर टेक्निक यू विल नॉट यूज. देन पिगमेंट्स जो होते हैं अलग अलग कलर, तो स्टोन पाउडर्स विच आर स्टिल available in the market, so those stone powders were used to make the designs. And these are the tools used in the arise work. Karni, a kind of tool used to apply mixture on surface. Then java, it is a local stone with grains used to rub plaster. Then nalia, it is generally, we can say it's a kind of screwdriver or any other pointed tool used to make design on plaster and to mark the border after applying colors. Then batakda hota hai, which is used to rub the surface and to make the smooth surface of the plaster. And ghuti is there, it is also known as agate stone. It is used to rub the final surface of mixture to make it smooth and shine. Then punchi is there, means brushes, different kind of brushes. Then patta, that means the ruler, which are generally we are using for the drawing the line. Then khaka, this is the stencils and pattern. And sometimes they were also using the coconut. जो रॉ कोकोनट होता है उसे यूज करके वो रब करते थे. उससे क्या होता था, कोकोनट ऑयल भी वॉल में जाता था और उसका सरफेस जो है वो शाइन होता था थोड़ा और स्मूथ होता था. Then this is the technique, like limestones were burnt in furnace and then it is soaked into water tank to diffuse the heat. The quality of arise depends upon diffusion of burnt limestone. If you keep for longer, it gives you better result. Therefore, it was soaked into water for minimum 60 days. Nowadays, generally they are soaking in 60 days, but earlier minimum 4 to 6 months were recommended. Little quantity of dissolved jaggery solution and curd were added twice a week into the soaked lime to purify it. Later on, it is filtered through cloth to remove the impurities of the mixtures. Actually, this is the theoretical part. जब तक आप practically नहीं देखेंगे, नहीं करेंगे, it would really be very difficult to understand. The above prepared lime is applied on plain weight surface. This primary stage for arise is called kada. The next layer applied on kada is called jhingda, which used to be a fine mixture of marble dust and lime mixture in 1.1 ratio. If required, another layer of jhingda may be applied to make surface equal. Then the surface is rubbed with java stone. After 1 or 2 hours, very fine layers of lime mixture is applied on the prepared surface, and later on desired design are drawn and color is applied. After this process, it is rubbed with agate stone and coconut. Actually, if you want to really learn this Raish work in Vanasthali Vidyapith, in like it is Tong district near Jaipur. So in Vanasthali Vidyapith, during the summer vacation in May and June, they are organizing like 1 month workshop on this Araish. And there is a very like senior artist is there who is like पूरा प्रोसेस क्या होता है अराइश का, पूरा प्रोसेस को he is describing to you. He is passing his knowledge to the students who are going for that workshop. And I think that workshop is organized completely free for the students. This is, I think, 1 month workshop. It is organized by Vanasthali Vidyapith. Then the second is the Khamira lime wash. So in Khamira lime wash also, Khamira lime wash was a technique to paint exterior and interior walls of the building. The following materials were used to prepare Khamira lime wash: cream of lime, curd, gum arabic, then Google. Google एक हर्ब होता है जनरली, जो आजकल अगरबत्ती में इसमें कई जगह we are using. Then burnt limestone, preparation of lime putty. Then burnt limestone soaked in water for months to diffuse the heat. During this period, curd mixed in lime. Once a week, it filtered through thick cloth to remove the impurities of lime. Then piece of gum arabic dissolved in water and stirred well with then filtered it before mixed with the lime. Google, it is herbed with boiled in water and filtered before use. So these all techniques are mentioned in the records which are preserved in the state archives of Rajasthan, Bikaner state archives. Then method to prepare khamira lime wash. The lime putty put into a mud vessels, kundi jisko kehte hain, and required water is added, stirred well. During this process, the prepared gum and Google solution is added and stirred well. Then the color was added as required and then stirred the mixture well. Yellow color generally जो बनाया जाता था वो केसुला, यहाँ पे केसुड़ा फ्लावर उनको जनरली बोलते हैं. तो दिस इज मेड ऑफ विद केसुड़ा वाटर. फ्लावर्स का जो वाटर होता है उसको 6 से 8 घंटे पानी में सोक करके उससे पूरा येलो कलर प्रिपेयर किया जाता था. इससे जो खमीरा लाइम जो प्रिपेयर किया गया है उसमें उसको मिक्स किया जाता था. फिर 2-3 दिन तक उसमें छोड़ के अच्छे से मिक्स करके देन अगेन उसको फिल्टर किया जाता था ताकि इम्प्यूरिटीज सब निकल जाए. पिंक एंड रेड कलर के लिए जनरली गेरू, हिरमिच और जो क्या बोलते हैं टेराकोटा रेड पाउडर जो मिलता है मार्केट में विच इज अवेलेबल, विच वाज यूज्ड फॉर द पिंक एंड रेड कलर. So this is the Chandra Mahal, photograph of the Chandra Mahal. This is the first 7-storied building which was constructed during the 1727. The work was started in 1723 and it was completed in 1727. So I have shown you the plan of the 7-storied building and you can see the upper part of the 7-storied building. There is a khamira wash, stone jali also you can see. And नीचे वाले part में जो small windows जो green color का small windows आप देख रहे हैं, इनके पीछे जो टेराकोटा रेड कलर में जो जालीज हैं, दीज जालीज आर मेड अप विथ लाइम. ये स्टोन जाली नहीं है, ये पूरा लाइम से बना गया है. तो डिटेल लाइम जाली भी एक बार मैं आपको दिखाता हूं. सो दिस इज द प्रोसेस हाउ लेबर दे आर वर्किंग. एक्चुअली ये सब कंजर्वेशन वर्क वी हैव अंडरटेकन इन जयपुर. सो एट दैट टाइम वी हैव डॉक्यूमेंटेड like all the process. So they are doing the araish work. They are preparing the first plaster on wall, then doing the araish work. This is the line jali. तो पूरा लाइन का प्लास्टर करने के बाद they are drawing the details on the plaster. Then धीरे धीरे उसको उस पैटर्न में they are cutting this line with the we find like they have tools. तो उस टूल से पूरा कट कर रहे हैं. तो इन जाली को recently we have restored. Few jalis they were damaged, so recently we have restored few jalis there. So this is the again line jali. You will see this is looking like a stone, very fine stone jali, but both the jalis are in the line. So this is again very fine work which is done in the one of the part of the 7-story building. This building is called is the Shobha Niwas. एंड ये जो कलर्ड ग्लास जितना भी है एक्चुअली इसमें जो ठीकरा टेक्निक होती है ग्लास की, दे हैव यूज्ड दिस ठीकरा टेक्निक. एंड जो कलर्ड ग्लास है उसमें दे हैव यूज्ड द कलर्ड फॉइल. बट गोल्ड का पार्ट जितना भी आपको दिख रहा है दैट इज द रियल गोल्ड विच वाज यूज्ड द 24 कैरेट गोल्ड. तो अगेन टू अप्लाई द गोल्ड दे हैव लाइक डिफरेंट प्रोसेस. गोल्ड को पहले हनी के साथ अच्छे से मिक्स किया जाता है, impurities उनकी निकाली जाती है, then they have applied. So this decoration was done during the 1823 or 24. So from that time to till date, gold has like its completely shine is there. कहीं कोई blackish नहीं हुआ है, कुछ नहीं हुआ है. And एक बार सिर्फ हम लोगों ने इसमें थोड़ा सा क्लीनिंग किया था, बट रेस्टोरेशन का अभी तक इसी बिल्डिंग में ऐसे कुछ जरूरत नहीं पड़ी. जोधा अकबर मूवी का जो मुहूर्त शॉट था वो इसी बिल्डिंग में किया गया है. उमराव जान मूवी में कई जगह इस बिल्डिंग का काफी शॉट आप लोगों ने देखा होगा. सो दिस इज लाइक वेरी ब्यूटीफुल बिल्डिंग. सो दैट इज व्हाई दिस बिल्डिंग इज कॉल्ड द शोभा निवास. दिस इज द कंप्लीट बिल्डिंग. सो यू कैन सी लाइक हाउ मच गोल्ड वाज यूज्ड एट दैट टाइम. Still, the royal family of Jaipur, they are using this room on the Diwali day. So they have like their personal party there. बाहर की तरफ काफी बड़ा terrace है. So there they are organizing the party इस रूम को स्टिल दे आर यूजिंग फॉर दी लक्ष्मी पूजन, बिकॉज इतने सुंदर रूम में जहाँ लक्ष्मी ऑलरेडी है वहीं पे दे आर डूइंग दी लक्ष्मी पूजन. So this is the last slide about the awards, like what kind of awards the ruler they have given to the artisans. So Arsatha Imarat and Shahi Imarat also mentioned that rewards also given to the artisans according to the excellence and completion of the project. So Vidyadhar, the true designer, occupies a provided position in the Jaipur government service. As the state records show, he was promoted to be the Desh Diwan in 1729 and rewarded in 1734 for the speedy construction of a 7-storied building, and in 1734 for bringing the Dravyavati river to Jaipur city. तो जो झोटवाड़ा रिवर से जयपुर तक पानी लाए थे, इट वाज कॉल्ड एज द द्रव्यवती रिवर. तो दोनों टाइम उनको अवार्ड दिया गया. एंड जो 1729 की बात में कर रहा था फॉर द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ द 7-storied बिल्डिंग एंड जंतर मंतर, सो मोती गज के लाइन ड्राइंग भी हमको मिलते हैं. एंड वी आर ऑल्सो फाइंडिंग द नेम ऑफ द मोती गज वाज गिवन एज ए रिवॉर्ड टू द Vidyadhar Bhattacharya. A number of architects and artisans were honored on the completion of the building of Amer by Maharaja Savai Pratap Singh Ji in 1798 AD. Daroga Seth Govardhan Das received Pashmina shawl. Price of the shawl was 115 rupees at that time, 1798. Lala Usta received 2 woolen shawls costing rupees 14 each. A brocade headgear to Swami Ramnarayan, who has written poetry on Hawa Mahal. Colored Lahariya cloth to Chhajju Usta, Ramlal Usta, Nanu Ram, Mohan Ram Mosil, Rekha Khati, Jitmal Khatri, Mohan Darji, Thanu Meena, Chima Meena, Jiva Meena और पूरा Meena. So this was the completely functioning of the building department during the 1723 to 1924. So now we are open to question and answer. Yes. Do we have any question or we do not have any questions? Hello.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma. This was real intriguing lecture because it really picked out the people and the agency that we don't really see on the official records, and your method of investigation and the process of how building sites function, the labor agency, the architects was very interesting. I think students do have a questions. We will open the round. Um Anyone who have a question can just unmute themselves.
Hi, I'm Preeci. My research focuses around the military technology of Jaigarh and how these arms and ammunitions were made there. So I had a general question about the Karkhana. So if two Karkhanas require common raw materials such as minting station and the Topkhana would require copper in for both the processes. Would there be a unified inventory system for managing and distributing the raw materials, or how was the raw material distributed to these carkhana?
Actually, if you will, there is a Mr. Saxena, I think R.N. Saxena, he is there, who has written a book on the Karkhana system during the Aurangzeb time period. So what he did, he tried to go through all the records which are available in the State Archives, Bikaner. So he also mentioned about the Topkhana, and he also mentioning about the actually you are talking about the raw material. तो इसमें क्या होता था कि there were the different departments. So what kind of raw material is providing which department? So again it is अगर मैं आपसे बात करूं कि building department and Surat Khana की. So in the Surat Khana, so there was the requirement of the paper and there was the requirement of the color. So the Kagat Khana means the Kagas department, जो paper department was there. he used to manufacturing the different kind of paper, and he used to provide the paper to the different department. In the same way, there was the Rang Khana. So Rang Khana, he used to produce the colors, and he was providing the color to the different department as per their requirement. So in the same way, there was the department who was dealing with the metal also. So the metal department which was providing the metal to the related department. So different departments were there. There was a like masala department was also there. So masala department, it is on not only related to the kitchen, but it was also providing the gunpowder. So for that, you will have to see the detail of each and every karkhanas and like functioning of each and every karkhana. So there was a proper system. So this karkhana system during the Aurangzeb time, it is written by like Saksena's book is there. I share the detail with the Professor Jigna, the detail of the book. I'll share the detail of that book, so you can just find that book. It is really interesting, and you will find all the details of that, like brief about the karkhanas, like what kind of karkhana system was there and what is going on.
Oh, okay, thank you so much.
Sir, it is a request. Will you be able to share your dissertation copy, if that is possible for students' reference and basically just for the academic work?
Actually, I do not have any issue, but I have a pressure to publish it because I completed
Okay,
my
okay.
PhD. So I have so much pressure from my professor to publish it.
Mhm.
But I can share this presentation to you. You can refer this
Yeah,
presentation if you want to see my dissertation. So anytime you can take the time and you can come to my office. You can go through my presentation. So that kind of liberty I can give you.
totally
But if you
work.
want to keep it,
Totally
so
work.
before publishing it, I won't be able to. But you want to read, you can come to office, you can see if you want to take the
Yeah.
photograph of some of the pages, I can give you permission, there won't be an issue. Okay.
Thank you so much. Yes.
So I had one more question. Do we have any sources on the budget considered for Jaipur construction and how economic pooling was done for the planning of the city?
Actually, at that time, budget constraint was not there, but I can say there was a proper planning. Like they have proper planned, like in which year, what they want to construct. And उनका प्लानिंग इतना डिटेल में था कि कौन सी बिल्डिंग को कितने साल में that building will be completed, and at the initial stage if they are making the plans, so how much cost they will have to like how much cost will be involved to prepare the plan, and then construction phases. So accordingly they have planned properly. And उसमें ऐसा नहीं है कि if I am talking about the Chandra Mahal or Jai Niwas, तो इन 4 सालों में सिर्फ they have focused only on Chandra Mahal. The other buildings were also there, because if we talk about the entire Jaipur city, so the construction of the Jaipur city or foundation stone, unofficially the construction was started in 1723, but officially foundation stone was laid in Jaipur city in 1727. So officially document में you will find कि 1727 को in November 1727 the foundation stone was laid down for the city, but construction was started much earlier than the foundation stone was laid down. तो सवाई जयसिंह जी he had like plan कि उनको वहाँ city बनाना है. तो plan was prepared, like I have shown you the plan of the entire Jaipur city जो 1725 में प्रिपेयर किया गया. Then accordingly प्लानिंग के हिसाब से few हवेलीज they have started to construct. तो सवाई जय सिंह जी का प्लानिंग क्या था कि फर्स्ट उनको ब्रह्मपुरी बनाना था, where the Brahmins they can go, they can stay. So when they laid down the foundation stone, to Brahmpuri like already Brahmpuri was constructed. Brahmins they used to started residing over there. तो उस प्लानिंग के साथ he has started in the entire city was completed in 1734. So he had focus like मुझे कब कौन से मोहल्ले के ऊपर फोकस करना है, कब कहाँ पे कंस्ट्रक्शन करना है, and how much time it will take. So accordingly he managed the I can say the budget planning and all that things. The second thing, like सब लोग बोलते हैं कि जयपुर के पास खजाना था, जयगढ़ में खजाना था, कहाँ गया वो खजाना? तो जयपुर इज द इन द रियल सेंस जयपुर इज द खजाना. अगर सवाई जयसिंह के पास वो वेल्थ नहीं होती तो क्या वो इतना बड़ा टाउन अपने पैसे के ऊपर बनाने के लिए वो बना पाते हैं? तो जो कहा जाता है कि जयगढ़ में जो खजाना था, तो उस खजाने को आप अगर जयपुर के रूप में अगर आप देखेंगे तो यू विल गेट योर आंसर. जो लोग आज इधर उधर खजाना ढूंढ रहे हैं ना, खजाना कहीं नहीं है. द जयपुर सिटी इन इटसेल्फ इज ए खजाना. जो सारा खजाना उनके पास था, यूज टू कंस्ट्रक्ट दी जयपुर सिटी. तो दैट वाज द प्लानिंग. तो उनको पता था कहाँ पे कितना क्या गोल्ड है, कहाँ पे कितना क्या सामान उनके पास रखा है, विच ही कैन यूज.
So my last question was that we have a lot of records of the karkhanas in Jaipur city, but do we have similar documents for Amer?
From similar document for
Amer city.
army. Yes,
Amer
definitely.
city.
Yes, Amer.
Amer.
Actually,
Sorry.
for Amer building, you will find only the records related to the conservation activities, not the construction activities. Because unfortunately, we are not finding records before the 1600 or before the early 17th century. So कहा जाता है कि records are there, but we don't know where are the records. Shastra Bhandar was there and other records were there. But in this Jaipur Karkhana reports, we are finding the conservation related document, like Amber में किसी महल का या किसी टेम्पल का जो रेस्टोरेशन किया गया है, such kind of records we are finding. But Jaigarh से related, you will find some of the record जहाँ पे again like they are talking about the conservation work. And कुछ records maybe you will find which is related to the making of cannon foundry and making of the reservoirs, water reservoirs. Some records, but not in detail. You will not find in detail.
Dr. Sharma, we have many questions that we could ask you, but there is also a shortage of time, so perhaps it is time for us to move on to the next talk. I hope you will allow us to reach out to you, as you have very graciously kind of suggested for more questions. As Dr. Sharma.
Hello.
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 Can you hear us? Can you hear me, Dr. Sharma?
Yes, now I can hear you. Some bandwidth is low, so that is why the name.
No. I was actually, I was just saying that there are many more questions we have for you. But perhaps in the interest of time, we will have to end here. And
yes,
as you have so graciously suggested, we will reach out to you for further questions that arise in our work.
Definitely. Okay, you can just like in advance, if you can inform me, so according to what we can do, we can fix a time and
Yes.
I'll give you that complete time for the discussion. Okay.
Thank you. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much. And we'll reach out to you for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Would also like to welcome Shikha. Hi, Shikha.
Hi.
Kairavi, will you take over and do the introductions?
Yes. Just a second. I'll hand over to Sri Vishal.
Hi, good noon, ma'am. Today it's the third day of our expert lecture series, and it is structured to include 45-minute presentation by the speakers, followed by Q&A sessions. I'd also like to mention that these sessions are being broadcast online, so anyone interested can. Hi, ma'am. I am GM Sri Vishal. I'm a part of the studio, and I'm just going to give a short introduction to you, and then we can continue with the lecture. Dr. Shikha Jain, founder director of DRO in Verona, is a leading expert in cultural heritage, specializing in world heritage, cultural landscapes, and conservation organizations and governments across Asia, and has played a key role in several UNESCO World Heritage listings in India. As director of Drona, she has led over 60 conservation and museum projects, earning recognition for her work. Dr. Jain is also a member of several prestigious committees, including the UNESCO World Heritage Committee, and serves as visiting faculty at institutions such as SPA, New Delhi, and Ahmedabad University.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And thanks for inviting me here today, Riyaz and Jigna and Kairavi and everyone. So it's really an interesting studio that you're embarking on. So I'm glad to be part of this expert lecture series. Should I share the presentation and start?
Please do that.
Is it visible to everyone? I'll put it on slideshow.
Yes, it is visible. Thank you.
Okay, so I think the topic given to me was Jaipur as World Heritage City, and I'm just going to expand it a bit into the UNESCO inscriptions for Jaipur because that was part of the process. Because if we see, from 2010, when Jantar Mantar within Jaipur got inscribed as World Heritage Site, then we had in 2013 Amer Fort, which is in the Jaipur city extended area, which got inscribed as part of the 6 hill forts of Rajasthan. And 2015, the UNESCO Creative City of Crafts and Folk Arts was, the title given to Jaipur, and in 2019 it became the World Heritage City. So it's within a span of 10 years. Jaipur city itself has 3 World Heritage sites, which is quite challenging because, as we know, in India, there is only one site that is now currently allowed to be nominated per year. But this is because Jaipur went through a rigorous process of, conservation and focusing on certain inscriptions within UNESCO and international guidelines. And since I was part of this journey throughout, so I just wanted to take you through the whole journey. So if we look at 2006, 2007, that is when we first started preparing the heritage management plan of Jaipur, and Amer Fort conservation was taken as one of the model fort conservation. It was Mrs. Meenakshi Jain, who was the conservation architect who led this fort conservation. And it's actually because of these kind of conservation works that we could put these sites on inscription. In a similar manner, the Jantar Mantar site was also conserved by her, and both these were then further nominated for World Heritage later. So since we had some queries about Amer Fort, I will just give a quick introduction. You all know, you have your theme as how this particular fort or area was occupied by the Meena tribe and then moved on to the Kachwahas. By 1150, it became the seat of Kachwaha Rajputs, and there is a small haveli nearby the fort, which was their original palace space. But then, of course, Man Singh became a commander of the Mughals, and that's when he expanded. And you can see, the first layer of fortifications and palaces that he built, which is the Man Singh Palace that you see inside with the Baradari. So this was the beginning of the Rajput Mughal architecture amalgamation, which is very interestingly presented. This is the 17th century plan of Amer. I'm sure you are aware of it now, but it shows how the Man Singh Palace was extended in a very interesting manner based on the Mughal forts and palace fortifications. And it's very interesting to see that how the Rajput ruler actually extended the Mughal plan, which you usually find on a plain, but this is on a hill, and it is expanded at various levels to have the Diwani Khas, Diwani Aam, and the Jalib Chowk, giving it its full form. And there were, of course, 17th century additions on Mughal gardens, and later on by Savai Jai Singh too, who built Jaipur. He also added this gate to, and certain other additions, and even by the later rulers like Ram Singh too, you find the billiards room and other extensions that were made to this palace. But then, of course, it was abandoned with the new capital of Jaipur in 1727, and it also became a protected site in 68 by the archaeology department. And as I mentioned, it was under Mrs. Meenakshi Jain that this palace was conserved in 2005, which became like a catalyst project for Jaipur conservation initiatives. And it's not only just the conservation work, but they also established a management and development authority which showed a sustainable revenue model for monuments in India. So 2/3 of the earnings from the palace, from the Amer Fort, actually goes into this Amer Management and Development Authority, which runs and maintains this, the functioning of this. And besides that, even the elephants that are actually part of the daily rides to the palace. There is a Hathi Gaon that has been created, and this is also funded or maintained by the Amer Development Management Authority. But now, of course, it is a separate tourist site, and it has its own sustainable model. So this became the World Heritage Site in 2013, and this was part of a serial nomination that we had placed. So besides Amer Fort, we also had other forts of Rajasthan, including Chittorgarh, Kumbhalgarh, Jaisalmer, Ranthambore, and Gagron. These were the other five forts along with Amer. And this was the narrative for Rajasthan, how various regions such as Dhundahar had its own typology of forts, and the history that it and how it adapted to terrain. It's a hill valley fort basically, where Amer Palace itself is ensconced in a valley area. Then the other area, I don't know if you're familiar with this passage. So if you see the location of Jaipur on the right side, I have the map. Amer is on top, as I had shown earlier, and you have this passage here, which is called Guni or Ghat Ki Guni. So it is a passage between two hills in a valley, about 2.5 kilometers stretch, and this was actually the main entrance. So when we had, during the Mughal Empire, they used to move from the capital of Agra towards Ajmer, where they had the Dargah. So Ghat Ki Guni was the passage that was used even to approach Jaipur, which was actually Amer. So this was the main entry to Amer for, any entrance. So it's whether it was Akbar or later on Lord Mayo, they actually entered Jaipur through this particular area, or the earlier capital of Amer, not from the Delhi-Jaipur highway that we see now. So this is the stretch that you see. And you can see, the coast minars of the Mughal period that you also find in Amer, and, linking it to this particular passage. And this is a historic site with 52 properties set in a valley on the outskirts of Jaipur. I've been associated with it since a long time. This was actually my bachelor's thesis, which became a real project later on. But this is what Savai Jai Singh too started creating simultaneously with Jaipur also, when he was envisaging the city of Jaipur. And this is basically the gardens that you see stretched across in a similar manner as inspired by the Mughal riverfront gardens of, across the Taj in Agra. So basically, this was one of the first conservation projects that was also initiated. So like Amer Fort, this also became a catalyst for urban acupuncture projects in Jaipur. And you can see how the historic gardens were restored using traditional material and craftspeople. And this was an unprotected Ajmer Jaipur highway. So the structures became protected. There was a passage and a tunnel introduced to divert the highway, and this was developed as a destination in itself. So this is, the relocation of the tunnel so that heavy traffic could move away, and then this entire stretch was conserved in dialogue with people, because initially these were some private properties which people did not want to get the government involved in, but finally they agreed and the entire area was restored, and a heritage walk was started, which is currently going on. So moving on, from these outer areas now into the city of Jaipur, when he envisaged Jaipur, of course, there were several names that were being considered, as Amer became too congested and they wanted to expand into a capital which was on the plains. And this particular, study of Jaipur we conducted when the Heritage Management Plan was commissioned in 2006, 2007, and the first listing of 1,096 structures was done. This was taking into account earlier listing of Fort Foundation and Intac, and now Intac is currently again revising the listing as was given to them as part of the dossier. So this heritage management plan also was included in the Jaipur master plan in 2025, and simultaneously, conservation works on Jaipur bazaars, looking at 3 model bazaars, it was started along with heritage walks. This is to, explain to you the planning of Jaipur, how Amer Palace and fortification and town, as they got congested, expanded into the Jaipur planning, but you can see the fortifications are extended in a manner that even Amer and Jaigarh specifically, as you can see these cannon, ranges on the right shown in circles. So you can see how Jaigarh and Nahargarh were actually protecting the complete walled city of Jaipur. And this is a very good research work done by Remy Pepillo showing the military and defense structure. So Jaipur is, of course, it's monuments and architectural pieces, but it's really the natural surroundings and that link, to this particular architectural aspect. And you can see here Nahargarh and how that became like a point to watch and for defense of Jaipur. And of course, Nahargarh was not there earlier. As you know, Jaigarh existed. It was expanded by Savai Jai Singh during the designing of Jaipur, and Nahargarh was constructed also as part of the defense. And it has several lakes, stepwells, water systems, and of course, the very well-known bazaars by which it gets its name as Pink City, and the chokris and choppers. So if we really look at the genesis of the Jaipur plan, it started with the Char Bagh. This is an old map, just part of it, but this is a huge map that you find of Amer in the National Museum. It's I think more than 10 feet in length. It's a cloth map that has to be unrolled. I have only seen photographs of it. But in that cloth map, you find that with Amer, the first thing that you see in the Jaipur plan is actually this Char Bagh, which is the Geneva. So that was the sort of the genesis of how it started. And as we know, it was a hunting ground at that time, but the garden, had started. Govind Dev Ji it was planned that he will be installed there. And Jantar Mantar was another site that came in with that. So this is just, showing the diversity of Jaipur, including the intangible aspects that still exists. So as I mentioned, it was, in how it was conceived by Savai Jai Singh too. And find these letters. This is in Rajasthan State Archives Museum, which we had displayed. We had designed the museum. But what is interesting about this is letter, it's a personal invitation of Savai Jai Singh to various traders, which said that please come to our city and invest in our city, and we will allocate land. And that's how the initial Havelis lands were allocated, and the Seths like Nagar Seths, like Natani Haveli that you see at the Chopper area is one of them, and there were several other traders who came in. And you can see these construction maps of Jaipur, which is very interesting because this shows how Jaipur was taken on a project mode by Savai Jai Singh. And he actually would, walk across from his palace and take rounds of the city as the construction was going on. And you can see the instructions clearly saying in Dhundari what needs to be done, what is completed. And this is more what we could say like a working drawing that we consider now. And also you see these reflections in these kind of paintings. This is in Navalgarh. I mean, these were the cities that were inspired by Jaipur planning, all the Shekhawati cities. So Navalgarh, of course, is one of the primary ones that takes the grid plan quite in a similar manner, and the main streets. And this is in one of its chhatri. You see the central area of Jaipur with the Chandra Mahal, the other stables area and all, and it gives us an idea of how these places were used at that time. And you also see the Isar Lat, the tall tower here. So we know that it was after that, Madhav Singh's period that this painting was done. And of course, you have historic images showing how the choppers were used. Besides, the built heritage, the informal, vendor spaces that existed since so long, and along the main axis. But of course, it's really ingenious planning that you can still see traffic that can be sustained in this 21st century, of a city that was designed in 18th century. So just these scale of roads you don't find in any other city of 18th century. And moving on to how we started the Jaipur Heritage Management Plan in 2006. So we looked at what was, the density. It was one of the highest density in this area, about 58,000. Now it would probably be much more. But of course, there's a lot of floating population, and yet 30% of employment is generated from the city itself. You had the lecture on the karkhanas and crafts, and as a trade and commerce city, it still has that pressure. So the management plan was proposed in 2006-2007, assuming not only just the Jaipur walled city, but the surrounding areas also. And a mapping was done, a listing was done, as I mentioned, of 1,096 structures, which were again updated when we were proposing it for World Heritage City nomination. At the same time, there were other, other recommendations that came through the management plan, and one was, of course, putting Jantar Mantar as a World Heritage Site. This became inscribed as a World Heritage Site in 2010, and the management plan is being implemented since 2011. And what is interesting about Jantar Mantar is also how the sundial, its angle and astronomy was used to actually, design the city of Jaipur. So if you see, the alignment of all the streets is actually linked to the sundial itself. And this is again, Remy Papillo, who has researched on this, and it shows how the proportions were derived based on this. The Jantar Mantar is inscribed because of these unique values, like the biggest, largest sundial in the world that exists today, a physical one in that sense. But it was as part of the Jantar Mantar World Heritage Management Plan that we also started looking at the bazaars of Jaipur. And because it came in the buffer zone, two of the bazaars, Sirediori and the Tripolia Bazaar. And they were, while developing this plan, we looked at the bigger buffer zone, including the Jaleb Chowk and the bazaars, and there were specific guidelines. So this is, of course, within Jantar Mantar, the Signage and Interpretation Center, and for the first time, the astrolabs that were, in the collection of Jai Singh, the measurement books that he had, his telescope, all these were actually displayed in Jantar Mantar, because these used to be in stores, but these are the instruments that he used while designing the city of Jaipur. So this is just the interpretation center that was part of the whole, nomination process, and later on management plan. But later on, now Jaipur has also done a lot of LIDAR documentation. It started with Jantar Mantar. They even have games for visitors on learning how, about astronomy. But like I said, as part of the management plan and the buffer zone, we also looked at the two bazaars, and we established this historic layering of Jaipur bazaars, where you see three distinct styles. One is the 18th century, the original facade, where you see Savai Jai Singh, and the mix of Mughal and Rajput architecture, creating this unique architectural vocabulary for Jaipur. And then we have 19th century, because that was the time of Ram Singh, who also made major interventions at the city level. So you have these facades where you see the British period elements, so more of the Indo-Saracenic style, coming in, and you see that in some buildings, which you see marked in green. Sometimes it was the pediment coming in, or just more blend with the local Rajput architecture. And the last layer is during the time of Mirza Ismail, where major interventions, including the bazaars or the shops that came in, the arcades that came in, were added at that period. So using these three layers, after understanding these three layers, we actually develop these facade control guidelines for these three bazaars. And now in post inscription, this is developed for all the 9 bazaars of Jaipur, and also for the inside streets. Uh, so at the same time, there was urban conservation work carried out, like I said, for the 3 bazaars, Tripolia, Tripolia, Johari Bazaar, and Chaura Rasta in 2014. And also heritage walks, which had been initiated by Jaipur Virasat Foundation and intact since 2003. Finally, the government actually started putting in money to upgrade those interior rastas, and it was initially funded through GNNURM, and then under Smart City also. So this is, the example of one of the Chokri Modi Khana Heritage Walk that was undertaken, and it is basically understanding all the buildings, their condition assessment, but also a house-to-house social survey was carried out to understand, how people want to be involved, what is their needs, if there is any upgradation for the heritage walk. And this was a participatory walk design where some people said they want to open their Haveli as a museum, or they want a bed and bath, or they want a restaurant or cafe, or some just decided that they don't want to participate in the walk. But there were major issues. Some of these still persist. In fact, it's not really the built heritage or conservation, it's the vehicular parking, garbage disposal, and stray animals that still remain as one of the major issues in the walled city. But these kind of proposals were developed by our team, where we looked at how the house owners can be facilitated in some way. And then we also linked with institutions like Oxford Brookes University, where urban planning students were visiting, and they were given one area which they could design. And then these kind of proposals were displayed in the Mahavir garden there, Mahavir Park, within Chokri Modi Khana, and to get feedback from the locals. So this, moving on, to these are the projects that led to the final, dossier, and were also shown as part of the process. And of course, the creative city component, because even though Jaipur was placed on the tentative list in 2015, at the same time, the government was, pressurizing us to prepare the dossier, but we felt that it is more important to look at designations which recognize the people and the crafts people of Jaipur, or the trade and commerce value. And this creative city of crafts and folk art was given as a priority, rather than the World Heritage status. So there was a complete mapping of the crafts locations within Jaipur, and you've heard Pankaj Sharma just before, so how much this is ingrained and how much this was part of the city design itself. So this is showing the crafts locations, all the karkhanas, and when we map, we realize out of the 36 karkhanas that, you really see probably 9 of them really functioning till now. Some of them lost their meaning, like the Tatar Khana, which was just for heating the water in the royal palaces. That had no meaning later on, of course, with advanced technology. So you find that how some of these became defunct, but some are still continuing, even for textiles, etc., because they are linked with the processions on Tej and Gangor, and how these particular clothing is used at that time in the processions. So this is categorization of the crafts and folk arts, which we proposed for the UNESCO recognition. Besides that, also the local intangible aspects like Galibazi, Tamasha, and puppet shows, the local theaters, which you still find in the mohallas, that it's being practiced. And this is just a glimpse. I will quickly go through of the intangible of these crafts that we documented. So it was, from its origin, evolution, material process. And here you find the link that, in this particular case, the Meenakari crafts person actually moved from somewhere in Pakistan. That family first moved to Amer, and when the Amer shifted to Jaipur, they moved from Amer to Jaipur, and the family still continues with this traditional crafts. Of course, there were some craftspeople, I think, who also came from Ahmedabad and other areas. So we do have records of all the crafts families and details, including, various like blue pottery. Again, the whole process was documented, embroidery, the various kinds of embroideries, the block printing, various kinds, or quilting, weaving, etc. And of course, stone crafts, which continue till now. You have the Khazane Walo Ka Rasta, within Jaipur walled city, where you find the stone crafts people. And also it contributes so much to the conservation process, because while conserving the bazaars of Jaipur, we realized how much of traditional techniques and crafts people are living and can contribute to this whole process. Then metal and wood crafts, this is sort of a dying craft now. There are hardly any craftspeople you find. But Thatera, again, the Thatero Walo Ki Gali was part of the Chokri Modi Khana walk. And you can still find the Thateras, creating these brass vessels, which are actually used during Diwali. You will find that everybody in Jaipur is buying from the if not directly from the Thateras, then from Tripolia Bazaar, which is the bazaar for the utensils. Paper crafts and painting, that again we see all across, in situ as well as otherwise miniature paintings, and the building crafts like lime crafts, frescoes, and mirror work that are part of it. So when we looked at the Chokri Modi Khana Heritage Walk or any other walks, it was basically linking bazaars, craft streets as museums, and giving direct access to these crafts people, so that people coming for a walk can directly buy from these people. The person you see is Awaz Muhammad, one of the very well-known lakh bangle makers. And we also promoted linking it with other World Heritage sites, including Universal Access. This is one of our visually impaired interns who worked with us, and actually we learned a lot from him on how to make the sites accessible. And also with institutions, this is with Ayojan College of Architecture, we work with Manipal University, Jaipur, but doing like a week of, crafts festival as part of World Heritage Day activities, where the students actually learn the crafts from the craftsperson themselves. So this is showing the 1 week workshop, and also, how students are painting some of the chalk areas just as part of the whole week program. And then there were, of course, other programs, like you have the smart city coming in. So again, we had to plug in the smart city and the objectives of the earlier heritage management plan, and how that would again sink in with the Jaipur World Heritage nomination dossier. So this was all part of the process. And under smart city also, they took the walled city area as a priority. So basically proposals that were prepared for Jaleb Chowk during the development of Jantar Mantar buffer zone were again, proposed under the Jaipur Smart City Plan. Proposals like Rajasthan School of Arts, which is on Chauda Rasta, these particular buildings were conserved. This is, from the period of Savai Ram Singh. So the 19th century style that I was showing. And this became a museum as part of the smart city restoration and reuse work to show the crafts. And finally, the inscription in 2019, which recognized Jaipur as an exceptional urban example for its planning and construction in South Asia. And as I explained, it's an expression of the astronomical skills, living traditions, unique urban form, and city planning of an 18th century city from India. So as per UNESCO criteria, you have the criteria 2, where it showcases an exemplary town planning and interchange of ancient Hindu, Mughal, and contemporary Western ideas that resulted in this layout of the city. So, important interchange of ideas. Then, criteria 4, where the city planning remains a unique response to the terrain and it integrates ideas of ancient Indian treaties, the Prastara plan, but also how it fits into the terrain, which was so unique to produce this monumental urban form, which is unparalleled in its scale and magnificence for its times. And lastly, we were very insistent on criteria 6, and this is something we really had to fight for because it's not easily accepted. Criteria 6 is not easily accepted since it's very difficult to show in terms of tangible structures. And but we did want like that this Chhattis Karkhana and the recognition of craftspeople should be there, and criteria 6 recognizes this particular aspect. But further to the nomination, and its inscription, there were other ways of enhancing. So interpretation was one aspect that UNESCO asked the Jaipur city government to commit to give commitment, on how they will take it forward. And you can see like the Chokri Modi Khana also is a digital heritage walk experience. There were, organizations like Org Traveler who came forth to develop walks with AR experience, showing how the tateras are working when you're walking in the street and what kind of crafts they can generate. And this is just showing the heritage walk area. But there were also workshops that we held on, Chhattis Karkhanas, where are they, how can we relocate, or involving the local people there in dialogue on how they can be revived. During the COVID period, which was just after its inscription, we had to prepare the special area heritage plan as committed to World Heritage Committee, and there were drone surveys anyway that were being carried out for monitoring also. So we could actually get to see how Jaipur built heritage was. And there was a heritage cell created, conservation architects who were part of this, who helped in documenting this entire process. We also had a summer internship program during this COVID period where we had, online urban planners who actually joined to do a complete mapping of the walled city, which I'm just going to quickly go through, but looking at the tourism aspects, because this was for developing the tourism plan under the special area heritage plan. So, interpretation centers where they exist within the walled city and outside, and the cultural places, and also the walk. So this is, of course, the Chokri Modi Khana walk, but the Ghaj Ki Guni trail, the Galtaji temple complex, which is also on the outskirts, the Nahargarh water walk, or, other water walks, and the festival, during festival, the walks, or the Khazane Walo Ka Rasta, which is the Stonecraft Street. This is the Royal Precinct and Sanganer Heritage Walk, or even breakfast trails and cuisine. And or the Bawris, this is across Amer through an e-rickshaw. So and during COVID, we also developed this website, jaipurworldheritage.com, which was with our knowledge partners, including Iogen College of Architecture, Manipal University, Intac, Jaipur Virasat Foundation, Jajam, and a number of, local NGOs and institutions. And we currently, Jaipur is still in the process of fulfilling all these conditions that were, given at the time of its inscription, which was completion of the special area heritage plan. That means, each and every house needs to be surveyed, and Ayojan has already surveyed 2 to 3 chokris in detail. This is being carried out by PD Corps currently. A detailed heritage inventory was being, revised by Intact. The legal protection was further strengthened. So there were heritage bylaws, that protection bylaws that came up in 2020, and the guidelines or the architectural control guidelines that I was showing you were further developed by the heritage cell of Jaipur Municipal Corporation. The management system was strengthened, and heritage impact assessment was carried out for several projects that were going on, the parking lots that were proposed under smart city or any other projects under smart city. And the detailed monitoring program is still, being developed, so this needs to be made stronger. I would say currently we are still very weak on this. And interpretation and presentation policy, we created a complete tourism interpretation plan, which is currently with the Department of Tourism, and they are taking the action plan forward in certain ways. This shows, the issue with the wall, the wall itself, the wall and the gates. The gates are very well conserved, but the committee was concerned, and ICOMOS was concerned, that the wall is in a very bad shape. So this shows the mapping of the wall and how it has been encroached with new construction at certain areas that needs to be addressed. So there was a a complete DPR made on the wall also, which is under implementation. And UNESCO New Delhi also joined hands to guide this process. This is part of the workshop that was held in 2022, a field workshop where the UNESCO experts came and looked at, how the process of special area heritage plan can be further augmented. We also participated in ECROM IUCN Heritage Place Lab, where we could actually exchange ideas from other cities across the world. So there were these 8 cities that were selected from across the world, and there was an exchange of the challenges that are faced in all these sites in terms of management. So it was actually a research practice lab, and we had a research team as well as a practice team. So the heritage managers, the site managers of Jaipur, with Manipal University Jaipur and Wildlife Institute of India. And we actually looked at, what are the issues which are of major concern. It was not so much of making the special area heritage management plan, but it was more of, issues like how the natural heritage in the surrounding is being, has degraded with time. The biodiversity aspects that came through this workshop, also the difficulty in effective implementation of proposals. So like I showed, the bylaws are there, the acts are there, everything is there on paper, but when it actually gets to enforcement, we still face challenges in our cities. So this really helped us in understanding what are the main challenges in actual execution of ideas, and which of course remain for most of our urban heritage. You have so many ideas or so many thoughts that need to be satisfied, the residents and visitors, the shopkeepers, the NGOs, international organizations. But at the same time, you have the progressive builders and unplanned growth coming in. So that, of course, is a challenge that we are all facing, and we continue to, counter those or balance the conflicting aspirations. Thank you. So I can take any questions if you have.
Shikha, thank you for this very extensive presentation. I'll open it up to the students to engage questions.
Hi, ma'am. This is Sri Vishal. And I have a question, and so my observation started from looking at the map of the Rajputana Topographical Survey from 1884. And when we see the shifts in power from Jaigarh Fort to the fortified city of Jaipur, we also see the shifts in architectural characteristics of the fort walls. Jaigarh being a very defense-looking and fortified fort, and when we go to the another extreme end, that is the gardens, what you showed in the Ghat Ki Bani Park, with the Vidyanagar Bagh, Rukuniwas, and Sisodia Ki Bagh. So my question is, these gardens are lying in the place of this Delhi to Ajmer route, which is connected by Jaipur, outside the fortified city, and it is seen in the map of 1886. I would like to know what are the narratives that happened in this place, like who used it, and is there any documents we can refer that when was this built, and how was it built? Because until the last lecture, we didn't know, like there were like detailed plans of Nagad that existed, and I would like to know if there is any documents of such kinds, and the idea of uh, architectural details that's starting from like defense looking fortified to pleasure looking detailed and like symbolic forts. So much.
Yeah, so that is, so I'll answer your first question because that is, the typology of cities that change, and you find it all across, where we had the fortified cities earlier, which would be, either on top of the hill or along the slope. So you have, Amer, you have Chittorgarh, you have Kumbhalgarh. So Chittor again, I mean, it's a complete city. You have municipal wards, or you have Jaisalmer, those kind of cities. So those were that was the period where you had these military or cities, coming up, or the military towns that was the need of that particular time, because you needed control, and that is how it was done. And you would have villages below. It was largely agrarian, economy that was looked into. And of course, it was the time when they were fighting, and also fortifications were important. And you see this particular situation changing across Rajasthan when you see Jaipur is coming. But even before that, you have Bundi, you have Udaipur, where you have, gardens. And so again, from Chittorgarh, it was Udaipur. From in case of Bundi, you have a different kind of, similar, like a valley kind of fortified city. So this Jaipur, of course, was a complete contrast because it moved completely on the plains. And but it's a process that you see, from the completely fortified area, or the fort itself as the city, and then moving on to palace, fortress, valley kind of a city, and then finally onto the plains. So these are the typologies you will see, which actually reflect the political scenario, what was required. Because when they were thinking of Jaipur, there was no issue of security. Jaipur was very much aligned to Mughals, and later on the British also. So and even though you have Jaigarh and the gun foundry was there, but this cannon also that I was showing how it was planned, and but there was never a need to use it. So they were quite safe, and that is why they opened it for trade and commerce, and it became more like an international city, where you had trading and commerce. To your other, points, and also, I mean, if you see, the gardens also are very interesting in Rajasthan, because it's not that the Mughal gardens were planted there. There is again a mix of Rajput Mughal, and there is a book on the gardens where, the author actually says that what the Rajput queens did to the gardens, typology was something very innovative. Because you see, in a Rajput Mughal garden, you would see that in between the charbagh, you have a square bawdi. The water systems were very, like they were very amalgamated with the local character. So you have bawlis coming, even in the ones that I showed you. It's very interesting how these bawlis are linked across the stepped charbaghs. And you had the jhulas that came with Tej and Gangor celebrations and all. So it's very innovative use of, the Mughal pattern, but how it adapts to Rajasthan and to the local customs, which is true, as I showed you, for the Amer fort, how it was used, or how Savai Jai Singh customized, the other Karkhana system which was used in Sultanate and Mughal period, but how he customized it to the 36, which are very typical to the local and Indian use in terms of in the Rajput context. So, but these plans you find, I mean, of course, Jaipur is, I think, one city which has uh, so many plans. You must have heard of Kapar Dwar. Unfortunately, that is like a khazana, what Pankaj ji said, because it has been lying locked for years, I might be rotting, and researchers are just craving to get their hands on those maps, because there are several maps. These were all the maps that Jai Singh himself collected, and not only of Jaipur, because it was across the world. I found a plan of Udaipur, 1760s there. I found plan of Panhala, which is a fort in Maharashtra, because he was actually, the commander going into the Deccan fighting for the Mughals. So the Mughals, so all the plans were done by him. He's the one who drafted, that was of course during the time of Mirza Raja Jai Singh, the other Jai Singh in Amer, but who drafted the entire Purandar Treaty for Shivaji, and between Shivaji and Aurangzeb, which is like an 18-feet treaty that we have conserved, and it's now showcased in the Rajasthan State Archives. So if you're looking at documents, go to Rajasthan State Archives. Most of them are digitized, but that's where you would find, like for the gardens in Ghatki Guni, I could find a complete plan in the City Palace collection. But then we went to Rajasthan State Archives and we looked at the PWD records. So this is the PWD created during the British time. And there we could see that the British are saying, okay, this garden with the other garden should be used like this, and they've added something. So we could find all the records. So the records are definitely there. You have them in maps, you have them in, their local daily, the bahis that they have. You have them after the bahis, because there was some construction carried out by the royals, some through the British, like architects. So those records you have in Rajasthan State Archives, and you have the paintings. They are very important record. If you start studying the paintings, there is a lot of information there on the architectural styles, on the additions that were made, and if you sequentially arrange them year-wise, you will get the whole history.
Oh, thank you. But any ideas of like who would be using these gardens, and like because when I went there, these gardens open up to the roads like, opposite to the Sisodia Rani Ki Bagh and then Vidyadhar Bagh, and then I was just trying to know, is there if we could get a glimpse into like how was it used and who was it used, because it's outside the fortified city, but then on the way to Agra.
Okay, good question. Because you will find it in the descriptions, like when we were doing Vidyadhar Garden, and before, besides Vidyadhar and Sisodia, you have a very nice garden, Raj Nivas Garden, which is what we conserved, and when we looked into the history. So there, I mean, they had built a huge detention center in cement and concrete. It was like a, double-storied structure that was completely demolished to restore that garden and the Baradari. And that is where we found the Bavlis and all also. So I was also interested in this question, where do you find? And we actually found it in the records of Ram Singh, that he's talking about on Tej. He is walking, in that arcade that I showed you, which overlooks the Guni, or the path. So what you see as road actually was, if you imagine it in monsoon like this, they had all these water bodies from the gardens joining, and this was a valley, so that whole thing would be like a river, and he was walking along, on that, watching that, and he says, on the occasion of Haryali Tej, this is a view I'm getting. And also they were basically pleasure gardens. Sisodia one made for the Sisodia Rani, and the rulers would come in monsoon time or when they were relaxing, and they would enjoy the views and just use it as a pleasure garden.
Right. I think my passionate Gokul needs to ask some questions to us.
Hello, Dr. Jain. My topic is about the fort walls and the defense systems themselves. We had briefly touched upon the conservation efforts on the fort wall, but when we look at the UNESCO documents sent to the UNESCO about the hill forts, we see that not all areas of Amer are nominated, or even the buffer zone. It's a very small area within Amer itself.
Right.
Now, when we look at it from the fort wall perspective themselves, why is there this this limit in conservation of the fort wall? As in, When we also go through the highways, we see that parts of the fort wall have been demolished to make way for the highways themselves. What is the regulatory body that creates guidelines and upkeeps them, and how effective are they? The question that I want to ask you.
So your two questions are two. One is why Amer is only a small area inscribed on the list, not Jaigarh and Nahargarh or the entire fortification. And the second, the condition of the wall in Jaipur, particularly, right? So that is, Amer, of course, is the main palace area. And ideally, if it's going for nomination, we would include Jaigarh and Nahargarh also, because that is the extended fortification. But the issue that we faced was ownership. So if we ask Jaigarh to join, Jaigarh is a private trust. And I think you're also addressing this private government issue in the studio. So that is what became a problem. It's not only Jaigarh, we also wanted Mehrangarh to be on the serial nomination. And that's the first thing, like the Chief Secretary Rajasthan actually called them and said, would you want to join us? Now, if you look at the history of the royals, they have actually, government has taken so much of their property and they are facing issues, fighting court cases for almost every fort or whatever. So Gaj Singh ji clearly said no, they don't want to join. And Jaigarh also was not ready. And that is why we put Jaigarh in the buffer zone. And we had actually organized an ICOMOS advisory mission where they actually came, both Mehrangarh and Jaigarh were invited, and they were asked by ICOMOS that why you don't want to join. And once ICOMOS was convinced that, that the government is not lying and actually the foundation itself doesn't want to join, then they understood the whole process. And they also said that in case of Amer, the outstanding value that was identified, because for 6 forts, the value has to be in a serial nomination has to be unique for each, which is not present in any other. So for Amer, that what was identified was the palace, like the Sheesh Mahal and, this particular artwork and all. So that is why, which resides in Amer, not in the buffer or Jaigarh. So they accepted that because the OUV actually resides in the property area that we took. So, and on the other question, of course, Jaipur walls is really a concern, which is something we had to defend at the World Heritage Committee meeting also. But we were hoping that with, that works as a tool for conservation, and the government will wake up and they will, do something about the wall. So we mapped the wall in every area, and the government at places it is actually government encroachment. You have urinals constructed by government just next to the wall that need to be demolished. There are buildings, which are government use. And of course, then there are some residential structures which are encroachment also. And the wall is actually protected under the state archaeology, the walls and gates. So as per the rule, you are not allowed to build uh, in across about 12 to 15 feet. You have to leave that distance. But nobody's enforced that rule for so long, and things have got built. So now it's for them to actually take it, phase wise and clean up the thing. So whatever DPR also that they did, the execution of that is not, I would not say is the best, because they just take the easy part, which is with the government, and they clean up and they, would paint it around the gateway and all, do the lime work and all, and they think one phase is done. But the main issues, remain. So I think it will take a long time for the wall issue to get resolved.
Would it be possible to resolve this problem of people encroaching the area? As in, I don't know if demolition is a.
Yeah, if you have the political will. I mean, I've seen it happen in India in a lot of places. Like, look at I mean, when I first did the Rajnivas Bagh, there was this huge structure detention center for women. There were women in that. It was a government detention center right next to the Baradari. We could not even see. And the garden you could not see anywhere. It just seemed like a, built structure. And that was one of my initial projects, and I didn't even have the guts to say demolish it because it's a huge building, functional. But the officer in charge, it was Mr. Salahuddin Amer, he just looked at it and he said, oh, this has to go. And I mean, he just demolished it. So, I mean, looking at those kind of examples, I feel if there is political will, if there's a strong visionary officer, then anything can be done. until then we can just try, because we keep advocating for it, but the action has to be with the government.
Shikha, there is a understanding that Jaipur, though the foundation stone was 1727, from what one understands, was actually built in a very short time. I mean, I'm not sure it's historically correct, but is that it was built in approximately 7 years or some such figure. Is there a record of that process, of the relationship, say, between the Imarat Khana and the actual guilds or the construction craft, the processes that allowed the city to be built that quickly?
So that is definitely there. Like I said, Jai Singh's, the daily record,
yes,
which if you see, it's in one of the books on Jai Singh, and I think Dr. Reema Huja would be the best person to tell you that. But that is where I read, like, it would say, now it records that he was called Shriji. So Shriji mounted his horse, horse from this Jaleb Chowk, and then he moved to this, and then he inspected this particular construction, then he moved back. So there are daily records like that, how he monitored the whole progress and what was built when. So it's, when we say it was built in such a short time, we are talking about the phase that he built, which were, the main temples that were marked, the Govind Dev Ji temple and the 3 temples, the Shikhar temples across the choppers. Then the smaller ones, he did all his marking of the Havelis and the temples. And the major ones were constructed, the bazaars were constructed. And then, of course, areas were allocated separately. So,
but the areas that were allocated for inhabitation by peoples and communities, I'm sure there's a record for how that was done. But I'm just saying that in terms of, let's say, if I was allocated a plot within a particular area, there must have been kind of production systems by which I could construct my house. The actual fabric of the city was also aided by these karkhanas. Is that how that worked?
Yeah. Building crafts was one of the karkhanas.
Yes.
And the particular, local architects who were there, they're called Kumawat. So Kumawat is still there. Like when I was recording Havelis, I, did some of Kumawaton ki Haveli, and they showed me the old maps and all that they were working on. So this is also from generation to generation. The Kumawats are the one who were working and doing all the construction. They were like the architects. And of course, the various craftspeople who were with them.
But would that have been a centralized process or a guild, much more a guild process?
Guild process, yeah. Centralized in the sense, like, what is very good, and I still need to get onto that. It's part of our research, which we identified, which is looking at the bylaws that were created by Jai Singh himself, while making the city, the guidelines, and that is with the palace. So, and that would be in Dhundari. So that is what would guide. So basically he made the grid, he divided the plots. There were certain size plots given to certain size people. That's why you have like the Sat Chowk, Natani Haveli on the main chopper. So who was given on the main roads, and then the other sectors, how they were cut. And of course, the 4 sectors on the left hand were the ones that were cut first. So you can see they are very organized. And later on, it became the one on the right side were more disorganized. It was also more of labor and all, which was staying there. So you don't see the grid there. You see very informal structures.
Right. But I'm just curious that at one level, you've got a planning system which has got like bylaws and so on, which determine, let's say, dimension and systems up to the plot size. And then within the plot, it seems that there's a craft system, because there'd be dimensions of stone and columns and beams and capitals and all of that. And that would come from the guild system, I imagine. Is
the
that
guild system? Yeah, but I think there was there was how it related, because we know Savai and Savaya, we know Sava was the key, like how the Sava was used. And while I was talking to an old Mistri, he actually told me, when I was asking me how they would make the Haveli, and he said there is a formula, which says Jag Savaya Puni Kothi. This is in Rajasthani. Now, Jag is a house in Rajasthani. So that means house is always a savaya. So if there is one, it would have that extra sava in it. And Poni Kuthi means that is a well. So that would be always a pona. That means it will be a quarter less or whatever. So they had their proportion and measurement system. And I saw even in the arch that were, they were making, they would say Puni Bagdi. Like the Bagdi is Puni, and then there is a hole, and then there is a Sava. So they had this proportional system even amongst the Mistris. And that's how, if they are given a plot, they would work along those proportions.
Anybody else have any questions? Shikha, thank you so much. It seems that there are no more questions for now, but I'm sure there will be. Please allow us to write to you in case there are some queries we have. And reach out from students. Thank you very much. This has been wonderful and very, very useful to the studio. Yes.
Sure. Thank you.
We will meet again.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Before ending the meeting, ma'am, could you please share your presentation with us, because it is very informative and I think it will be very useful for all of us.
Sure. I'll email it to Kairavi on the email.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.